Hello, everybody, and welcome to Perspectives. I'm your host, Sam Jones, and we're going to kick off today with Kristina Watkins with the Gatesway Foundation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very
It's very
glad
nice to be
have
here.
you on board.
Thank you.
You guys are so involved. You're dealing with folks that are either mentally or physically impaired.
Correct.
And before we kick this off, I was talking with you just before we started taping. There's an area I don't understand, and that area is their caregivers are aging.
Right.
And when they reach a certain point, they're going to die.
Right.
And when they do, what happens to these folks?
So that truly is the age-old question. We've been asking ourselves that for years and having these discussions internally. And so a lot of what we've tried to do to mitigate some of that, because if they don't qualify for services, if they don't meet certain standards with the state of Oklahoma Nursing Home Administration, all sorts of these regulatory people, they don't qualify for services at Gatesway or other facilities like ours at all. So where do we come in to fill the gap for those aging loved ones who are caring for these people? And so what we did to kind of mitigate that as a starting point was we put together an information desk, if you will, with our admissions, our staff that does our admissions into Gatesway. And so if we don't have any openings, or if they're just calling for information, they can call and talk to her, and she can provide different resources, different avenues that they can travel down if we can't be the ones to support them. But that truly is the question that is the struggle to answer. We've been to the state to talk about it. We've been up to Capitol Hill to talk about it. It's one of those questions that we just cannot seem to find the proper answer to yet, but we're still digging.
Don't mean to get political.
Sure.
But how are the children in Oklahoma City behaving with this issue? Are they sympathetic to your plight?
They are. In general, for the most part, they are. There are some that aren't quite as sympathetic to it as others, mostly because they're focused on other issues that are going on, things like that. But we do have quite a few representative senators that really have come to campus. They've seen the mission, they've met the friends, they've talked to us, and are buying into exactly why this is needed and why it's such a special population that they need their support.
There's so many questions floating around my head. I don't quite understand how you guys are able to negotiate the minefield of caring with people that you have to grab by the ears and yell in their face to get their attention.
It's about re-education, really, is what we found out. So just the terminology alone, for example, of how to address the IDD community or people with disabilities has changed so many times over the last 2 decades. I mean, the use of the R word is still very apparent. I've seen it on social media many, many times over. And the entire world on this side of the world is trying to re-educate everybody on proper terminology, proper language, things like that. Mm-hmm. Those who are affected by the population or by being part of the population, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a coworker, a friend, they understand and they're sympathetic to it and they buy into it because they understand the need. It's those who don't think that they know somebody with a disability that are the ones that we've got to kind of pull in and go, this is why it's important. This is why these people are important. They're still humans. They're still citizens. They're your neighbors. I mean, they contribute to society just like everybody else. So.
You have, acquired $7 million?
Yes.
How?
We mostly through grants and donations. We've had some really, really great partners between nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations, for-profit organizations. We've had some private donors. We currently serve about 130 people to this day, at this moment, and on average we serve about 300 people a year. What? And so parents and guardians are also part of that have helped to support this campaign to get new homes for their friends and their loved ones. Any dollar is a contributing factor. It doesn't matter whether it's $1, whether it's $1,000, whether it's $10,000. Everybody can play a part in making this happen and helping us set these standards. Our capital campaign is setting standards capital campaign, because we're trying to set standards for new housing for this entire population, because what they have right now is it's just not it.
But surely you, and I'm not faulting you, but surely begs the question here, some of the folks are going to be with you for life.
Absolutely. Some have been.
That means
They truly have been.
your staff's going to have to grow as well.
Exactly. It is a constant give and take of growth of friends, growth of staff. The thing that we have in our favor with the way that things are structured currently is that we are capped on our campus in Broken Arrow of how many people we can have with how many houses that we have. So 64 people is the cap right now that can live on campus. And out in the community, there's not really a cap, but we kind of keep it to a certain amount with what housing we have available now. We're expanding that with new housing, but it's, yeah.
Do you have battles to fight when it comes time to build?
Absolutely. We're fighting battles all over with the community, we're working really well with the city of Broken Arrow. There have been a few battles here and there with some of the terminology and language, but it comes with the territory. But there have definitely been some battles that we have been fighting.
Because it seems to me like, and you never know who's going to step up and say, I don't want those folks next to me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want them in this area.
Oh, yeah.
Get them out in the country.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
You don't. I mean, you have to teach the people that live next to these people that they should not be segregated and alienated to the community or out to the country, because our campus is in the heart of Broken Arrow. It is half a mile from downtown. I mean, it is right there. And really, it's all about integration into the community with these friends, because they want to be full-fledged community members. They want to give back. They want to live independently. They want to work in the community. And so it takes living in not a rural area or out in the sticks to be able to do that, or to put them in a compound, because they're not someone to be put to the side because you just don't want them near. You should pull them in and love them and surround yourself with them, because I tell people all the time, if I'm having a bad day, I will go out on that campus. I'll spend 30 minutes hanging out with friends, and it will just turn my day right around.
You know, I recall years ago, Zebco
Yes.
was heavily involved
Yes.
with employing some of the folks that, that needed your attention.
Right.
And I mean, by golly, they put them to work, and they put them on salary.
Mm-hmm. They did.
Like assembling reels, the Zebco 33, for example, and marrying them to rods, and then shrink wrapping them. And each one had a job to do, and did it very well.
Yes.
And in some cases, better than folk who had no handicap or disability at all.
Right. They're very hard workers. I mean, you give them a task, especially if it's something that they want to do or a goal, they're going to achieve it, because they're going to prove to the world that they can. And they're dependent, they're reliable, they're going to show up, they're going to do a good job. They're usually going to stay late. They're great, great employees. And they were a wonderful partner for us. We have quite a few employee community partners.
And they deserved our embrace.
Amen. They do.
Katrina, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you more than you know. And would you come back?
I absolutely would love to.
I'd love to know how this ebb and flow goes for you.
Yes, I would
Good.
love to.
We'll talk more down the road.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Short break. We'll be back with more right after this. Two more fresh victims for the show today. Steve Regier. Did I get it?
You got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
heart
good.
trouble. And Cindy Griffith are with Light of Hope here in Claremore. What is Light of Hope?
Light of Hope is a nonprofit that helps people see hope in whatever situation they're in. We originally started out in dealing with families dealing with addiction and individuals in addiction. And we've seen not only families dealing with addiction, but some of the collateral damage of that in grief and other kinds of upheavals in the family. And so Light of Hope's mission is just to help people find some kind of hope and support right where they are, and we try to direct them to help that they need.
Even if they don't recognize that they need it?
Most of the time they need to have a realization that they need it.
Yeah. Steve, I noticed something here, substance misuse as opposed to substance abuse. Now that's a big change in the presentation of words.
Yeah, substance abuse can become the result of substance misuse. So, I mean, a lot of people that we see in the throes of addiction have started out misusing prescribed drugs. So it's trying to catch those situations before they develop into something deeper. Personally, I'm just going to throw this out there. My son, I lost him in 2015. He went through a bout of addiction. So it's real personal to me to try and identify with these people, catch them before it gets too bad. We really try to, like Cindy said, meet people where they are. I mean, it's all different kinds of grief. A father walks through it one way, a mother walks through it one way. We've got a lot of different meetings that we hold now, support groups for general support. We've got a Mother's Angels Child Loss group that meets twice a week or twice a month. We just, in the last 2 months, have started a men's group, and it's just a grief group for men, which I think had been a missing piece. So there's just a lot of different places, and like Cindy said, it's that pebble that hits a pond and it just spreads.
And the ripples just go and
They
go
just
forever.
go and they go and they go.
I see an education department bent on posting the 10 Commandments. And if you don't like it, then you're not realizing we need to work with our youth and give them the 10 Commandments. Nobody said anything about the Quran. Nobody said anything about other forms of religion. It's Christianity. Now, there's something manipulative going on here that I'm not smart enough to figure out, except I know it's wrong. It's very wrong. These kids today, yeah, they're smarter than I was at their age. They have more at their fingertips than you or I had.
Right.
But by golly, I don't think posting the 10 Commandments is going to cure it. It's going to take something else. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, what Cindy said, we started going into schools and doing assemblies, 4 years ago or so, and educating the kids from the roots, from the ground level, about, the dangers and the access that's out there to try. I mean, it's like you said, it's scary. I mean, a kid can get on a telephone and have drugs delivered to his house or her house within minutes. And it's that whole choice situation to help kids understand that there are choices to be made and consequences for those choices, like Cindy said.
When I was a little puppy, many years ago, the big thing was alcohol. And I recall in I think it was in the 7th grade, they brought everybody in to the main auditorium and they played a film. If you don't know what film is, you need to look it up. Anyway, they played a film that was made on scene of horrendous car crashes before the victims were moved, before they were attended to. And then the ambulance would arrive and the extrications, The idea was drinking and driving don't mix. That was very effective, very effective. I don't know of anything out there that they're using on kids today because they have so much more coming at them.
Well, when we do town halls, we start it with a video that's called Dead on Arrival. And it is a very graphic video. Now, the problem is going into a high school assembly or a middle school assembly, we can't do that. protocol won't allow. And the school system is it's a tough one. That's where we need to meet these kids, and that's where we need to educate these kids. But there's so many guidelines and rules that keep us from doing everything we probably could do or should do. It's a bit of a challenge.
Well, it's a never-ending battle.
Yeah.
As I understand it, you collaborate with as many folks as you can, and hopefully you can do some good. I want to thank you for taking time to come in and talk a little bit about it. And Lord knows we need to hear more about it.
Well, we're right here in Claremore, and we just want people to give us a call if you need a support group, an encouragement or support group. We have groups for veterans. We have groups for youth. We have groups for those grieving, those who are just needing support for their addiction or working through that addiction and recovery process. We're there for folks, and we want them to know holidays are hard for people.
They're tough.
And this is a hard time, and we want people to know that they're not alone and that Light of Hope can be there to help them.
And it's amazing how many families have been touched.
You might mention real quick, we've got this Thursday night at New Hope Church on 1904 North Sioux. We have a Surviving the Holidays grief group. I mean, like Cindy said, it's a tough time for people. They're going through loss. But that's this Thursday night. So.
Yeah, and you're always hearing, why didn't somebody warn me?
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, thank you both.
You're
You
very
bet.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Stay
having
in
us.
touch, okay?
We will.
We're going to take a short break and come back with a little bit of information about the coffee bunker right after this. Finally today, Dr. Robby Hedrick is Director of Transition Services at the Coffee Bunker. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
I haven't known you 5 minutes and already like you.
Thank you. Thank
That
you.
works well. What is the Coffee Bunker?
So the Coffee Bunker is a nonprofit located down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we're dedicated to serving veterans and their families. Our mission statement is helping veterans be successful in transition, and transition being a broad word, because every phase of life is a transition. Through personal and professional development, through our core values of care, community, and connection. So, and through that, we do that in multiple ways, but that's our premise, is through those care, community, and connection, and bringing veterans and their families together, and through our programs, helping them and their spouses and dependents be successful in their civilian lives.
You know, I've visited the bunker a couple of times
Yes, sir.
with a friend of mine who was military, who was wounded in well, he said he took it where he sits because his foxhole wasn't deep enough. But he laughs about it. But he said, Sam, it's amazing how many men and women are walking this earth who didn't take a bullet, who didn't take an IED, who just, they carry the scars between their ears, if you will. And that's what the bunker is there for. At least that's what I gleaned from it.
Well, that's one of the many aspects that we're there for. And oftentimes what you're referring to, you will hear referred to as the invisible wounds of war, not the physical things that we often see or refer to. And so that is one of the many things that veterans deal with and the challenges they face. And that's one of the aspects that we do. We have many community partners that come in and help them if that's what they need. But we also serve the different aspects, whether that be some people need the homeless challenges, some people that are in the professional world need that upskilling and development. And so we go back to when I say transition being that broad word, depending where the veteran is, we try to meet them where they are. But yes, sir, that's a very real thing that people are dealing with. And so we do try to meet them where they are.
I've got some figure here I want to throw out.
Yes, sir.
Vet suicides, there's 72% higher risks of vets committing suicide than those who haven't served. I don't think the average person understands what a veteran goes through that's been in combat. Even if they're never wounded, even if they're never injured, it's the trauma of facing your own mortality right there at any given instant. That weighs pretty heavy.
Yes, sir, and I don't want to overgeneralize, and I don't want to speak to the whole veteran community or population, but I do think you're very right in the fact that the mental strain and pressure of having served in the pressure of that job and the consequences of doing that job and performance does take a mental toll on you because my level of performance could ultimately dictate the lives of myself or others and have severe consequences down the line. So that makes it more pressure-filled stress and strain on top of the other compounding and complexities of the nature of the role of the military service member.
Do they knock on your door or do you go out and find them?
So a little bit of both, and again, depending on what service they're needing. At the location itself, we have several events, whether it be, for example, Monday night we have a Toastmasters Club. The veterans that are out in the community and the workforce, they come in and they look for how can I improve my public speaking, my leadership skills, because I want to improve in my position out in the civilian sector. Depending on the day, they come in. One of the things we said is connection and community, to socialize and hang out and just visit and be with other veterans and talk and share stories and that camaraderie. Other times it's because they need a service or assistance with a specific thing, whether that be a mental health challenge or a food insecurity or a different need. But also in today's modern world and digital world, we go out there and I reach out and work with people all the way from California, Minnesota, and Boston. And we do that through our digital presence. And then knowing that depending on the demographic and age, some veterans, my age group, are often out working, so they don't have the luxury of being able to come to the bunker, so we go out to them, and we do a lot with the Veterans Employee Resource Groups.
There's got to be an element too that I'm going to make a big assumption here,
Yes,
and I hope I'm correct, that you work with, where parents say, or loved ones like a wife or a husband say, they're not the same since they were over there. Do you hear that often?
So occasionally we do. There are times, and we do our best to work with them and the caregivers and things like that. But one of the things that I think we do well is know that we can't be the best at everything. If we don't want to compete with the other organizations in town, we want to complete what they do, and we want to complete what they don't do. So we want a real collaboration. So if we see something that we don't specialize in, we work hand in hand with other organizations in town. And so say they were to come in and there's a real challenge and they needed more in-depth mental health needs or financial assistance needs, we can send them and work and do a warm handoff to those other groups that specialize in a more in-depth process and need. So we help them where we can, and if we find that's the case and need more or further assistance in what we can provide, we're able to collaborate with these other groups to take it further than where we can.
Well, you're doing God's work there, and I appreciate you, and I know a lot of other folks do too. In the time we have left, which is roughly 45 seconds, do you need anything?
Yes, sir. I would just say the things that we need is just the well wishes and support of our community, and more so because we know that there's more veterans out there that don't know about us. We're often told that we're a hidden gem in Tulsa. So whether you're a veteran or you know of a veteran, just let them know that we're here for them and their spouses. We know that a lot of times the veterans get the love and the benefit, but as they were out serving, the spouses and dependents took care of things at home, and we want them to know that we're there for them as well. All our services are free. We'd be more than happy to help and assist in any way that we can.
You got a website?
Yes, sir, www.coffeebunker.org, as well as LinkedIn, Facebook, and we'd be happy to connect in any way that's convenient for anyone that would like to reach us.
If we can help here at Rogers State Public Television, please call on us. We'd be more than happy to put on our gear and come help you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're a good man.
Thank you, sir.
Like I say, you're doing an incredible job there. That's all the time we have for this edition of Perspectives. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.